Well, it's cold now. Fall came and went, and winter felt like it showed up faster than it had any right to. I'm sorry it's been so long since my last letter. You know how quickly life seems to move sometimes. To tell you the truth, I've had a difficult few months, but I won't get into that now. Let me get you caught up. The summer heat continued, but the shade of the forest took the edge off. Kind of. I'm still grateful for my straw hat for cutting down on my sunscreen bill. We greeted more new life at my friend's farm, like the 40-plus guinea fowl babies, which are called Keats. I was still spending my nights in a small two-person camping tent on the back deck of the boat, which was getting a bit cramped. I could barely sit up straight inside, let alone invite friends over to hang out. Can you imagine? Miss. Hit. You sunk my tugboat. Oh, I'm bored. So it was time to start working on creating a more livable space for myself. The plan was fairly simple. Find a spot, build a level wooden platform raised on posts to allow for plenty of airflow, on top of which would go my canvas wall tent that's been in storage since 2021, a holdout from a dream that didn't quite work out. For once, the plan actually went pretty smoothly. I was able to scout out a location that gave me high ground, good drainage in the soil, only a few trees to cut down, and sightlines to the boat. Once I had a spot picked out, I broke out the brush trimmer, aka the circular saw blade on a stick, and started to clear the understory, being careful to leave as many of the oak saplings as I could. After that, it was time to start felling trees. I tried to pick a spot where I could minimize the amount that I took down, but I ended up removing 5 spruces and 2 diseased cherries. I ended up using the spruce logs as posts for the platform, and the cherry wood I'll use as next year's firewood. I'll also try to use some for spoon carving. I have to admit, I was not as safe as I should have been while using my chainsaw. I always wear safety glasses and earplugs, but should also have been wearing chaps and a hard hat. I'm working on getting a pair soon, hopefully. So, like I said, I started felling the spruce trees, trying to avoid hanging them up on the others nearby, but I did get a couple caught. I worked on getting them free by carefully undercutting the trunks until gravity finished the job. Once I had the trees safely on the ground, I started to delimb them and turn them into the logs that would make up the foundation of the tent platform. I began that process with my favorite axe, but the ancient, abused handle that's been on it for who knows how long finally met its end with a poorly aimed swing at a log.
Aww. That was a good handle. Damn.
I finished cleaning them up with the chainsaw, which was way faster, but less fun. After processing the logs, I stacked them off to the side until I was ready to turn them into posts. This forest is the most peaceful job site I've had the privilege of working in. Sometimes I'll stop working just to listen to the birds, the cicadas, and the wind, or if none of them are singing, I'll just enjoy the silence. The next step was to lay out the foundation by hammering in stakes at each corner to create the outline of the platform. Then I stretched a string line between them and used my framing square, a line level, and that one Greek guy's theorem to make sure it was level and square. After that, I drove in 16 more stakes, 3 at the bottom and top, and 5 at either side to create a grid. At the intersections of the lines, I used a plumb bob to make a mark where each of the posts would go. You can think of a plumb bob as a device that always points to the center of the earth, but it's basically a pointed weight with a string running through its center. You hold the string at a reference point, and the plumb bob marks the point directly below it. This one lands right on a rock, so I'm gonna have to get this out. Otherwise, I don't know how I'm gonna get a post in there. Nice. Unfortunately, I decided to mark the holes with chalk powder, which was washed away by some absolutely torrential rain the next day.
Okay, so clearly it started raining very hard. I don't think it's appropriate weather for digging holes, so I'm going to take off. It's extremely wet.
Luckily, my layout stakes were still in place, so all I had to do was restretch the lines and mark the holes again, this time with sharpened sticks hammered into the ground. While it was raining, I took the opportunity to fix my chainsaw. I had dropped it at some point and broken the handbrake. While it was broken, I had tried cutting one of the stumps that was in the way of a layout line with my folding bow saw, which was a pathetic and frustrating experience. For whatever reason, I just couldn't keep the blade cutting straight, so it wouldn't stop binding. Anyway, I was glad to have my chainsaw back. Okay, well, that was a nightmare, but it's over. With all the holes marked, I started digging. I don't know if you've ever had the misfortune of digging in glacial till, but my gosh, there's a lot of rocks in this province. I used my favorite digging combo of a landscape bar and a clamshell digger, which helped things go much faster. The landscape bar works well at smashing and prying rocks loose, and the clamshell comes in after to excavate the loosened soil.
There we go. Jeez. There we go. Come on. Finally.
How can I even get it out?
A monster.
I found some chanterelles, so I'm gonna put these in my dinner tonight after I clean the slug juice off them. It took about 1.5 days of labor to dig 13 holes. 2 of the places where the posts were going to go are going to be taken up by a carrying beam bolted to the leftover spruce trunks. I think that about does it for me for today. I'm going to try and start writing more frequently, so if everything goes well, you'll hear about building the platform in 2 weeks' time. I'm not actually on the boat right now, but I'm going to write it anyway because I like the sign off. Writing you from a boat in the woods, Joshua. Hey, so I'm doing a new segment at the end of every video where I read letters that people have sent in to me, and I'm calling it Sail Mail. So I have my vintage Canada Post relay bag from 1976. So this week I have one letter, and this one's from David in Halifax. I'm just going to read passages of the letters. David writes, "Your project has many unknowns, including unknown obstacles relating to vessel restoration. However, you have many options to deal with them. Flexibility is everything and a big challenge. Joshua Slocum met it when he set out to sail alone around the world. He rebuilt his free old boat by replacing all the wood, all the fasteners, and all the sails. Then it was ready for the voyage. Today that restoration route is not absolutely necessary if the goal ends up being to sail and not to faithfully restore." So I think what David is saying is a great perspective to have. I will be honest, I went into this project wanting to do like a gold standard restoration. I don't think it's practical in my case or what I really want out of this project. Like, I do want to get this boat in the water, and I don't necessarily want to be in this pasture for 10 years. So yeah, I think that's a great perspective that I'm going to hold throughout the project. If you saw my tour video when I was talking about replacing basically all of the ribs, or the frames, I don't think that's necessary. And I've talked to some boat builders. I talked to Sailor Barry, who also has a YouTube channel, and I think it'll make way more sense to just go sort of piece by piece. Thanks, David, for writing and for your perspective on the project. So if you would like to write me a letter, I have a PO box now. For the time being, I'm just trialing it for the next few months. I have the address in the description of my Patreon, so you don't have to pay anything to see it. Also on my Patreon, I'm going to be starting to send out physical copies of the letters. So if that's something you're interested in, they're not going to be like, I can't handwrite every single one of them, so they are reprints, but it is my handwriting. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, check out my Patreon. It helps support the channel. It helps me make more videos, and helps me get this boat in the water.